Yeti.
I love mouses.
How are you? Hope you're fine. This is the Shaggy Show.
Okay, where you go?
Why have I got horns? Oh no.
Oh, it's the Shiloh podcast.
Oh, there's going to be some drama ahead.
All I wanted was a pie.
And then I hatched out as an egg. Okay, bring the mic over. He's ready to record.
Is it metaphorical? Is it deep?
The show's getting so international.
Good boy. He's had all that shy is right.
Blimey, Governor. It's the Shy Life Podcast.
Hello, Paul.
I don't know how he's done it. Excellent.
748.
748.
Bonjour et bienvenue au podcast The Shy Life.
Hello.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Shy Life Podcast with me, Paul the Shy Yeti. How are you doing? I'm alright. We've got a special guest back with us. I'm not sure, should I tell you before we run the theme music? No, I'm going to wait. So, yes, all I can assure you is that we'll be talking about a lot of trivia about TV, which may give you a clue. Anyway, run that theme music.
Darling, it's the Shy Life Podcast.
My favorite person is you.
Keep it rolling.
Yes, but it's a positive thing, Paul. The highlight, the Shiloh.
I'll go anywhere from potato.
Hello, campers. How are you?
Go Shy Yeti.
Oh my, I haven't found out my secret. Really has.
I love the Yeti'S. It's my favorite thing.
If you thought that was bad, just listen to this.
Yeah, I'm strangely drawn to Yeti Uncle John's ankles as well.
I could eat my body weight in crisps.
Has anyone seen my hot sausage?
It's all gooey and meaty. Yum, 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 yum.
It was enormous.
I don't think I'm ready to speak about it. Here comes the grizzly.
It's the Shy Life Podcast.
It's all great, it's the game.
It's alright, I'm just being an alien.
I'm right there.
Hi there.
Marvelous good.
Oh, it's so good bad. No, nothing.
So, who is our guest? Well, I'll let you into the secret now. Well, it's not exactly a secret. It probably says it in the show notes anyway, or even in the title. Yes, it's Uncle Warren. He's here.
Hello, dear listener. How are you all? It's really great to be back. It seems like an absolute age. Really has.
It's been a while. We've done bits and pieces.
My hands are wrinkly and old now since I was here last.
Dear. You've just been in the bath for a long time.
Well,
that's what it is.
and hot tub, necessarily bath.
Yeah. How's the cinematic sausage, by the way?
Oh, my sausage! My sausage is blooming. Yeah,
good.
Because you kindly came along recently, and you've done Deathline.
I did. Yes, we did that for Halloween, didn't we? Deathline.
No, we did Asylum.
Oh, that was before. I've done two in quite quick succession.
You have. You've knocked two out quite quickly.
Yeah, Deathline and then Asylum.
Yeah, and two other people have volunteered for new voices for it as well. So
that's good. Yes,
it's just looking good for the new year.
Yeah, that's good. And actually, talking about podcasts before we start talking, because it's no surprise that I brought you back onto the show to talk about some TV.
Back into the womb.
Yes, I've
like a warm womb.
Well, I know that I'm partially responsible for getting you into this whole podcasting lark. Not entirely, but at least one of maybe two or three podcasts that drew you into the truth. Come to us. Yes.
It's called grooming, dear boy. A podcast groomer you are.
Oh dear. I guess we may see Yeti Uncle John comedy later, but
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, but I talking about podcasts. I've just discovered something. I should be outraged, but in a way, I'm kind of flattered. I've discovered that there is a podcast out there where the show hosts, who are very mysterious, where the show hosts gossip, chatter, diss, like everything you can possibly do about members of the Shy Life podcast team.
Really?
But in a way, I'm flattered because you have to be worth something for anyone to be.
That's true.
There's no bad press, but don't know who it is. Do you want to listen to it a little bit?
Yeah, let's have a.
Yeah, let's have a listen.
So, I don't know what you think about that Bettina Dupre, because she's like she's like kind of says she's famous. But I can't see much in her IMDb record.
I can't see that at all, boy. I've been to the cinema many years, and I've never seen any old films or any films with Dupre in it at all. And
no, she's always talking. Yes, I mean she's always talking about doing some sort of those DVD commentaries and stuff, and yet I don't think anyone buys them. Surely. It's
well, no, I had a look at my Laserdisc collection, and I tell you, I'd never heard of her, and she's not appearing on any of the extras. It's a crying shame if she's famous, but somehow I think she isn't.
Well, she's supposed to have worked in Italian films, but I mean, there's only one reason that an actress works in Italian films. It's because she can't get work in America or the UK.
Well, I thought it was for the ice cream.
Oh, well, it's that too. You can tell she's probably had quite a lot of ice cream. She's what?
Oh, there's lovely. Bit of gelato, bit of whipped cream and a cherry
well, I
on
can
top.
understand that.
I like a bit of whipped cream on cherry on top.
Oh, yeah, I bet she's had a few of them.
Oh, man, I bet she's had a cornetto or two.
Yes, I think so. And anyway, she's married to that weird artist guy, August Evans. He paints weird things, and I can't imagine he's famous.
No,
he can't. I don't know.
I've heard that name.
Yes, yeah.
He painted my next door shed.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. Now, the thing is,
tell you what, aircraft can land by that. It's so bright now.
The thing is, she lives in that big house, but she doesn't own any of it, or very little of it. It's all.
Sure, it's not a hotel.
It's owned by the National Trust. She lives in a tiny part of it. She inherited it years ago, and she frittered away all the money.
Wow. You don't want to live in a tiny part, do you?
No.
You want something to expand upon.
No. And she's on that Shy Life podcast. And,
not that again.
Yes.
I've read so much about that.
Yes. And she was employed to be the agony aunt, but nobody bothered to write in.
I tell you.
I don't know where she makes her money, but I can guess. Probably gambling or something. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. She's got that face for it.
She has, yes, yeah.
Wizened and inside out.
Oh, dear, yeah.
Lick your lips first, though, I would.
So,
I can't believe what I'm hearing there. I really can't.
Surely half of that's libelous.
Well, it's liable to cause upset. Yes.
But I spoke to Bettina earlier, and she said something a bit like this. Oh, darling, it made me laugh. They don't know anything. Oh, it's probably just some sort of scam. As I've always said, no press is bad press, and people are talking about you, that must mean that you're important. So, I say a rude word, but I'm too polite. But, screw them. They can say what they like. When my lawyers find out who they are, I shall take them to court.
She's taken that well. I must say, she's taken that very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not the first time it's happened. I mean, Bettina Dupre is so famous. She's like the sort of famous person that famous people, I think, are famous. I mean, I was, initially very upset, and I'm only speaking like I'm speaking with you now because she's kind of put it in perspective. But if that podcast starts saying things about me, or Dealey or something, I don't know if I'm going to take it so well. But I guess I should keep that in my head, that if they're talking about you, it must be because you're worth talking about, even if they're saying bad stuff. But they're jealous, right? They're jealous of us podcasters.
Absolutely, they're totally jealous.
And yet, I mean, they're just one of those podcasts who just talks about other podcasts. They're not. Yeah. They don't have any original content.
They have no content, and they have nothing interesting to say. So
I mean, what's the point? I mean,
exactly.
But I guess, well, perhaps it's the controller or somebody. But I guess we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out who it is one day. I've got some other bits to play you later, but we ought to get on. I don't want to dedicate too much of this show to them. That you won't believe what that podcast is called.
Go on,
it's
sock it to me.
Talking about the Shy Life Poopcast.
What?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's not on at all.
But I mean, like, what a weak name! Poopcast.
Once a week,
like they're kids or something. And apparently,
do you know what it smacks of? It's beginning to smack of a bit of Yeti Uncle John here. Well, that's the sort of childish thing he'd do,
Hard to tell. They've obviously, those voices you heard are quite clearly not real voices. They've been put through some sort of synthesizer or app or something.
Welsh synthesizer.
Well, the thing is, the other clips I've heard, different accents, not the same accent from episode to episode.
Really?
So, yeah, I mean, deliberately trying to hide their voices. So, I don't know.
Not good.
There's various people that I think it could be, or it could be somebody completely new. But anyway, I'll play you some more bits later, but I think we should get on with our TV year.
notes.
Now, we might do 2 years, but I think it just depends how much information we have to talk about. So we'll do one to start with. We'll see how the time goes. Depends if Cromitty and Yeti Uncle John show up, because they'll dominate this.
Depends what time the pub turns out.
Well, I don't know when this episode will be going out, because we are quite late in the year. I wish we'd talked about this sooner, but we're going to talk about 1974, which at time of recording is 50 years ago. Whether this goes out at the beginning of 2025.
Thanks for making me feel really old there. Pop pickers.
Well, even I was alive in 74, but only just. But
there's no need to rub it in.
Yeah. That's not what you said. That's not what you said last time.
Well, I was just being accommodating.
Well, yes. Well, the first bit of information I have for 1974 is from the 3rd of January. and it's the first episode of the Second World War set comedy It Ain't Half Hot Mum, starring Windsor Davies.
Wow, 1974. I didn't think it's that late yet. Do you like I Ain't Half Hot Mum? I like that.
I sort of vaguely remember seeing it. I don't know if it was from repeats or whether how long did it run? It ran a few years, but I don't know that I would have seen it when it was still being shown. I sort of vaguely remember it, but I haven't seen it in the last, in recent times. Ran for 8 series, 56 episodes, ran to 1981. So I guess I might have seen some of the later episodes.
I definitely remember the last episode as they get on the train. And, it's quite sad, actually, the last episode. Very sad indeed. I do remember watching it as a staple during the 70s. Made Windsor Davies household name, didn't it? Even though all the actors that are in it are all established. But yet it was that diving board that launches people into the great ocean of fame, not necessarily fortune, as Don Estelle unfortunately sadly found out, but definitely fame.
Don Estelle was in an episode of, or maybe more than one episode of Sutton Park.
Oh, really?
I tell you what, he was, because he doesn't know it, or is he dead now?
Was he busking at the time?
He effectively, yes. Oh yes, he died in 2003. This was in about 1994. He was in Sutton Park, somewhere like Haverfordwest or something like that. I was going on a holiday, and yes, he was doing something in a shopping centre.
Oh wow!
And I got him in an episode of Sutton Park.
Was he identifiable as?
I think so. I haven't seen that footage yet for years, even though it's all digitised. I haven't watched. When I watch Sutton Park, or if I pick clips for YouTube or for the podcast, I just go randomly. So there's loads that I still want to see that I haven't seen. The people who did It Ain't Half Hot Mum also did Dad's Army and Heidi High and You Rang My Lord. This was their next sort of high-profile series after Dad's Army. Whether they did any flops, I'm not quite sure. Some of the later shows aren't remembered quite so fondly, like You Rang My Lord, I suppose. But
because this is David Croft and Jimmy Perry job, isn't it? So but there's some really good names. I mean, this was Michael Bates' last acting job. He was in so much pain whilst he was making this because the cancer was killing him. But
he must have been doing Last Summer Wine at the same time as Half Hot Mum. At least it appears they overlapped. Obviously, they wouldn't have been necessarily filming the same weeks, but...
Well, 73 to 75 he did Ain't Half Hot Mum. Last of the Summer Winos, yeah. And he did Ain't Half Hot Mum till 77.
And then it went on for another few years.
Yeah.
Melvin Hayes was also...
He used to live on the Isle of Wight. Used to see him quite regularly. I don't know if he lives there still now. But yeah, he used to live on the Isle of Wight.
He was married to Wendy Padby, wasn't he, at some point?
He was. They have a famous daughter as well, don't they? She's an actress as well, I believe.
Oh, I don't know about that. Well, perhaps I do, but I don't realise that they have 6. They have 6. Well, he has 6 children, but he's had more than.
He keeps him busy, doesn't it?
Well, we could talk more about Ain't Half Hot Mum, but we better move on. 5th of January, debut of Saturday morning children's show Yeti'S was, hosted by Chris Tarrant, but this was when it was only on Midlands.
Wow. I was going to say, because it wasn't hosted by Chris Tarrant in those days. It was a very regional show then, and I think the first season isn't hosted by Tarrant. I think he came along when it went national. But Yeti'S was, I was, funny enough, about 6 months ago, I was watching some early episodes of Yeti'S was.
Yeah.
For the first, everything from the first season exists.
Yeah.
The linking bits, but not the actual program itself, the cartoons and everything, because that's all it was really. It was a bit like it was just a program with linking materials for cartoons and things.
It does,
and towards the end, they did sort of throw in water a lot.
Yes, yeah. It does say that Chris Tarrant was involved from the start.
I'm trying to think who the first... I can't remember who the first person was that introduced it.
But it does sound like it was more...
Oh, yes, Gordon Astley. 1973 was the test period where they did it locally. And 1974 is when it went national.
Yeah.
And of course, Tiswas stands for Today is Saturday, Watch and Smile. Which did you prefer, Multicoloured Swap Shop or Tiswas?
I think my heart was with Swap Shop, but I was quite fickle. If Swap Shop got boring, I'd switch over to Tiswas, and if Tiswas got boring, I'd swap back to...
exactly what I did, yeah. 304 episodes of Tiswas. 304.
I do remember, it must have been, let me see, because when did it finish? 83? Well, 82. I remember, it must have been when Bucks Fizz had just, maybe when they just had their Eurovision success, particularly as it didn't last much, not much beyond that. I remember being, I don't know why, it sticks in my head, and it's probably a bit snobbery, or the snobbery of a child, but I remember when you heard Bucks Fizz singing, you didn't get their accents. I know
what you mean.
I remember being really shocked when you heard them singing, and then you heard them being interviewed, and they all had... they didn't have posh accents. And I remember being like, oh, people can sing in a posh accent and then not be posh.
Made you wonder whether ABBA were really common. Had gore blimey type of Norwegian accents.
They weren't Swedish at all.
But yet they sang in posh Swedish accents.
Yeah.
But you grew up in Southern Television land, didn't you? Was it Southern? Yeah. They did. They didn't get Tiswas till 79. I mean, I was the same. I didn't get Tiswas till 79.
Yeah, I guess I probably wasn't really watching kids' TV much before that anyway. But
you young whippersnappers. I like the idea that when you were shocked when you heard Bucks Fizz talk. I was usually shocked when I heard Bucks Fizz sing. That's harsh. I quite like Bucks Fizz. They were fun. They were the beginning of the fun times heading in towards the 80s, I think.
They had some quite interesting singles. Some of them, sometimes they're one of those groups who, some of them more, they had these really famous singles, but they also had some quite fun flop singles. The Eurythmics were the same, in that they had big hits, and then maybe the next single would be a flop, and then the next single would be a big hit, and then not every single song that they released was a hit. And of course, history only really remembers the big hits.
Oh yeah,
I love going back and listening to the less famous songs of, particularly if they were singles.
Or the B-side, on the B-sides, you mean, on singles? No?
Well, no, not necessarily. Sometimes you say, Bucks Fizz had 3 number ones and they had other top 10 hits, but they also had songs that just missed the top 40 that were good, and they weren't and same with Eurythmics, same with lots of people. I mean, it still happens to this day. Even in the streaming time, you might have. In fact, I think it happens even more. You might have a singer that gets number one, and then the next single just doesn't get picked up by the radio stations, and just doesn't get anywhere. But the radio stations still have quite a lot of power. I'm going to skip the next fact because it's about the National Union of Mine Workers.
They were on strike. I think actually the best way to deal with that is, what year weren't they on strike? It's the years of discontent in the early 70s. So yeah.
I don't think it's the most riveting piece of information, so we'll move straight on to February. Now, this is a much better piece of fact. A show that is very British and probably not known beyond Britain. On the 12th of February, BBC One first airs the children's series Bagpuss, made by Peter Firmin and Oliver Postgate Small Films. Stop-motion animation. Only 13 episodes were made. It's very fondly remembered, and it's got a huge cult following. Worth checking out on YouTube for those sorts. I mean, I'm sure... Calling Toppy Smelly? Look for Bagpuss on YouTube. I'm sure you'd enjoy the... just how beautiful the whole...
It's very sort of... It's almost Alice in Wonderland in its magic, isn't it? All the characters are in a junk shop, aren't they, really? And they get visited. Quite regularly by a young girl.
Yeah, and when Bagpuss wakes up, all the other...
And she loves Bagpuss, and she comes and visits and plays characters and goes out. And then the characters come alive when none of the humans are about, which I think's lovely, because if you've got a sort of tired shop window that's got old things in old toys or statues and toys and things such like, and a child looks in there and they think to themselves, do you know, when no one's looking, they all go out and go for a walk somewhere. And I think that's lovely. That's a very sort of childlike dream state, isn't it? That where their toys come to life and they're not nasty. They just have little adventures. Because after all, Bagpuss was a saggy old cloth cat and a bit loose at the seams.
Sounds a bit like me.
Sounds like us all, dear boy.
18th of February, the American Depression-era family drama series The Waltons makes its UK debut on BBC Two. So it had been around since 72 in America, but we were a couple of years late catching up with it. But I know it's one that Toppy's discussed on Matinee Minutia. I never really watched The Waltons.
Did you not?
I think there was a time when it was on, when they were showing things like Lost in Space on a Sunday morning. I'm sure The Waltons was on maybe before it or after it, or so I remember seeing. I don't know. I just think I found it. I was never a big fan of period stuff when I was younger, and.
I suppose you don't identify with it so much when you're younger. You think, oh, that's the sort of thing that my parents or my grandparents would watch. Yeah. It doesn't look as exciting as it should do for me, so you don't take much interest in it, and that's understandable.
I never watched The Sullivans, which was an Australian soap.
I did when I was off sick.
Yeah, that was a sort of period thing. I'm sure at some point I should watch The Sullivans in case it's as soapy as some of the other soaps, because it was made at the same sort of time as things like
it's based during the Second World War, though, isn't it? For a family during the war, and it's very much like there's a program. It's gone straight out my head now that we have over here, which is very during the early 70s, and A Family at War it was called, and it's very much like that. I find it very much like that. Slow and sends you to sleep.
Well, I feel like it was on before Lost in Space or those shows, because I do remember seeing a lot of the sort of Goodnight John Boy bits whilst I was waiting to see the show.
Well, that was a thing that sort of that would turn up in Mike Yarwood doing impressions, wouldn't it, when he would do things like that.
On the 22nd of February 1974, BBC Two airs the drama Girl as part of its Second City First anthology series. The drama tells the story of an affair between two army officers and is the first on British television to feature a gay kiss between two women. So that's quite...
Well, that sort of blows out the theory of Brookside, doesn't it? Because it's always premiered as the first... same-sex kiss, isn't it?
And there was one about EastEnders as well. And,
hello, Ma.
And all those sorts of plot lines were going on in Australian soaps, not necessarily the ones that we have, but around the same time as this. Number 96 had gay characters who were just treated as another of the families in the block of flats. So, I mean, considering that Australia tends to be sort of perceived as a more macho environment, they were quite groundbreaking and they went. I mean, early episode of The Prisoner has lesbian characters, and
I was about to say about Prisoner, because you can't really sort of not have same-sex relationships in the prison environment.
Yeah, and it's sort of forgotten, I think. So I mean, but in this case, it doesn't. You might say, okay, well, Prisoner was there first, or Number 96 was there first in Australia, but in Britain. But they've obviously forgotten there were things long before Brookside and EastEnders. But in March 1974, the 31st of March, Charlie Williams hosts his final edition of The Golden Shot.
I was going to say, that's going to be Golden Shot, because Bob Monkhouse came back, didn't he?
Yeah, it says he came back in July 1974.
Yeah, because there's a lot of controversy about that.
Yeah.
A lot of controversy, because he was removed from the show.
Uh-huh.
And when I say removed, a very short notice, they decided to get rid of Bob for some reason. I think, his face didn't fit with the new management running it. Mm. And the ratings plummeted because people tuned in to watch Bob Monkhouse.
Yeah.
And so when Charlie was there to replace him, they set it up where the head of the TV company comes on whilst they're there and say, well, thank you for all your hard work. Here's a presentation of ours. And another camera's cut to Charlie, the other side of the studio, who starts talking, going, well, welcome, I'm going to be taking over the show, and I'll see you again next time, blah, blah. And Bob is literally pushed out of shot and forgotten about. And he was very angry about that. But they found that, you know, Bob was the draw because Bob was sort of a character. For those people who don't know who Bob Monkhouse is, he was essentially a comedian. A comedian during the 50s and 60s, even an actor to a certain extent, because he did a number, famously doing the first Carry On film. But he's a guy that sort of fell into, a bit like Nicholas Parsons, really, as an actor, fell into the game show trap. But he found a new audience in his game show that he could still pitch his jokes to and be entertaining. I mean, famously, of course, I always remember him for Family Fortunes.
Yes. Yeah.
And him being very... and Bob's Full House and things like that. But I do remember him on The Golden Shot. As a child, I remember watching The Golden Shot and Bernie the Bolt.
He did... There was somebody called Jackie Ray who did it for a little bit, but it was done from 67 to 72 by Bob Monkhouse, which is, you know, a good 5-year period, and then for the 74-75 season. But Norman Vaughan actually took over from him when he left in 72. He did it 72-73, and Charlie Williams 73 to 74, and then Bob comes back again. But seems like
well,
it was a real
the
mess.
thing with, because Bob was the owner of a pneumatic video recorder. So a lot of the Golden Shot programs that exist are down to Bob Monkhouse recording his episodes. So, yeah, he was a classic hoarder of and recorder of films, television programs he was in. From, if he didn't have the video recorder, then he obviously, you know, he audio recorded stuff as well. So it ended up with him going to court in the late 80s, early 90s. Because he's a film collector, wasn't he? Yeah. He was a film collector. And they still haven't categorised all his collections, so there could be anything there.
It says that the reasons he was sacked in 72 was that he was spotted accepting a gift from Wilkinson Sword. And I guess because it was on a commercial channel, that they thought that was maybe a form of...
What, you gave him a bloody great scimitar?
Yeah.
You gave him a scimitar and said, there you go, Bob, have that.
Well, apparently the following week, a Wilkinson Sword, his and her grooming kit appeared as a prize. Moving on to April, the 19th Eurovision Song Contest in Brighton was, of course, the one which ABBA won with Waterloo. And it
seems so many generations away, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they were the first group to win the contest and go on to achieve huge international success. And I think, I mean, there were other singers obviously involved with Eurovision that either were famous beforehand or became famous afterwards, but I don't think anyone ever beat ABBA for the level of fame that they got from being on Eurovision.
Do you know who one of the presenters was? Which was quite surprised, and that's just suddenly come to me.
Well,
one of the presenters was Katie Boyle.
Katie Boyle, yeah.
Yeah. Katie Boyle, and I was quite surprised at that. I remember watching that programme going, goodness me, Katie Boyle, really?
As I'd seen clips, I kind of felt like I sort of remembered her from Eurovision, but I don't know how early I was watching or how many she did. 74 was her 4th Eurovision, but she only did it 4 times, so that's the last time she did it. So I must just know Katie Boyle from other things, but unless she sometimes appeared as the UK person, when they ask,
Neil Poir.
Yeah.
She was a model as well in her early days, wasn't she? I can remember watching that. She did Eurovision in 60, 63, 68 and 74. But famously known, of course, as the agony aunt in the TV Times.
Yeah, I definitely, unless I'm confusing her with somebody else, I guess I've seen clips from 74. Moving on to May 1974, I'm afraid nothing happened. There were no events.
May 74 was cancelled, was it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But we do have a good...
Due to lack of interest.
Yeah, we do have a good one for June 74, and it's that John Pertwee makes his final regular appearance as the Third Doctor in the final moments, well, not just in the final moments, in the whole of Part 6 of Doctor Who, the Doctor Who story, Planet of the Spiders. And Tom Baker briefly appears as the 4th Doctor at the conclusion of the serial.
I remember that.
You do? I was going to say, I know
yes.
You said we were pretty young when that was...
so I'd have been 4.
Yeah.
And I just about have memories of the dinosaurs, Planet of the Spiders, the last episode is as clear as a bell to me.
Good.
Because... I suppose it's because it was the impact of the Doctor changing. I never knew the Doctor could change. I knew nothing about the history behind Doctor Who because, I'm 4 years old. So, but it was the thing for kids to watch. And when he changed, it was wow, how did they do that? That's amazing. But it's not.
Take a brief break from talking about TV because we've got 2 extra members of the team here who I want to have a quick word with. Cromitty and Yeti Uncle John. Hello Uncle Warren, how you doing?
Yeti Uncle John, always a pleasure. Let me shake you warmly by the throat.
Oh, thank you. Oh dear. Hello Warren.
Cromitty, it's give us a hug, Cromitty. Come on, come in for a hug.
Thank you.
You're so soft and warm.
What does he get a hug and I don't get a hug? It's because you're an old reprobate. Well,
very old.
As you're all here, I've been hearing rumours that you know how you gave Cromitty a bit of a pep talk. Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, he gave me a pep talk too. Yeah, well, I've heard that you're feeling a lot more confident, Cromitty. Well, maybe not. I've also heard that perhaps you may be leading Yeti Uncle John astray. No. Maybe.
Really?
Maybe. Well, that's what I hear, but I've not got any definite evidence. No, and neither will you ever have any evidence. We're making sure to clear our track. I mean, we're making sure... No, he is more confident. He's putting me in my place. Well, it's not before time yet, Uncle John. Oh, yes, well... I'm always going to have a soft spot for Yeti Uncle John. And, but I can't let him get away with some of the things that he's got away with in the past. Well, exactly. Which is what Uncle Warren was telling you last year or whenever it was, maybe the year before. It's been a long time. Time passes so quickly, but well, just behave yourselves, the both of you. Oh, well, of course we will.
Right, not too sure about that myself either.
What do you think, Warren? What is it? How does it make you feel to know that maybe you've made you did a good thing, and yet yes. There needs to be a point.
I think the repercussions are going to go on for quite a while.
We'll be watching you. We'll be watching you too. Actually, whilst you're here, I want to hear whether you know anything about this new podcast, the talking about the Shy Life podcast. Well, I've never heard of it. No, Paul, what is this? It's a new podcast. It's all about us, but, tittle-tattle and gossip. Oh, my goodness, I'm quite shocked. I'm sure you are. Do you want to hear a bit? I think so, yes. Oh, dear. Are they talking about us? Well, not in this clip. They're talking about it, but have a listen.
Well, one of the strangest people on the Shy Life podcast is that Ick the alien. He comes from space.
Well, I don't know where he comes from. I think he comes from Swansea myself.
He comes from space, unless they say... Well,
no,
I've heard...
space. He comes from Swansea.
Well, that's what I heard. I heard that he didn't come from where he says he came from. But it's difficult to know. There's so much tittle-tattle, so much... They're always telling stories.
I've always tattled my tittles.
Yes.
And it's always got me into so much trouble.
Well,
You'd think they'd learn from that.
Yes, well, I mean, I can't believe, the thing is, because it's a podcast, they could just be making half of it up.
I think it's just people doing silly voices myself.
Yes, I think so. I mean, they keep going about how Ick the alien has a spaceship under the M25 bridge. I mean, people would have...
Oh, for goodness sake, he'd only see it twice a year to get round the M25. It's like a blooming car park.
Also, if it's invisible, like they say it is, then people would have walked into it and the police would have shown up.
Oh, no. And they'd have found it and they'd have towed it away. You know what they're like. Highways England, they tow anything for wearing clothes at the road at the drop of a hat.
And I don't believe in aliens. I don't. There's no such thing.
Oh, hello, Mavis.
There's no such thing as aliens and there's no such thing as ghosts. And yet they say they've got ghosts on the show as well. Ghosts.
No.
Douglas
I think it's a little... I think it's a load of old bilge, if you ask me.
Yeah.
They've been pumping out their drains too long.
I thought they were going about there being a demon. What? They really think we're going to fall for this sort of thing? I mean, somebody has to expose them as the liars they are.
No, you see, they'll be standing for a presidency next.
Yeah, I mean, and that's before we get on to, because they call them the regulars, but then they have all these other guests that come on.
The only thing that I know that makes you regular is bran.
Well, I mean, some of them definitely need a bit of bran. I think they're stuck up themselves, half of them people.
They've got a bit of blockage, have they?
Yes, they have. I think so.
It's not good.
I don't know what we can do about it. Complain. Write your MP about the Shy Life Poopcast. So,
Papa Poopcast.
Well, I mean, it's what it is. That's what it is. It's a load of old poop. It's a poop. Poopy poop poops.
You think, John, comedy, what do you make of that? Well, it's outrageous. How can they get away with it? Yeah, how can they get away with it? Well, it's because it's clearly not their own voices. And I spoke to Bettina about it. The first clip I played to Warren earlier, she was being insulted, and I thought she'd be upset. I was upset on her behalf, but she actually sort of said, well, it's good to have the attention. Well, I suppose so. I'm not so sure. I don't believe that. Well, I mean, they're going to get round to you and I and Yeti Uncle John eventually. So we either try and find out who they are, but well, I think Warren is going to ask this because Warren's the best interrogator. Well, Warren, I mean, I'll ask them if they are the people behind the podcast.
Okay. I'll do it subtly. Don't do it subtly. Yeah. Yeti Uncle John.
Yes.
Take a seat.
Yeah. All right. I'm sitting down.
Right. Okay. Don't worry about the lamp I'm putting in your face. That's just to brighten the aspect of things.
Thank you.
When did you start doing this podcast?
What? I didn't do it.
When did you start doing the podcast? No, don't give me that. I can say, come on, lad. I want to cough.
It's not me.
I don't believe you. Come on, there's too much evidence to say it's the type of thing you pull.
No, it's not. I'm too busy working for Charlotte Shade. I'm too busy running around every day, driving a taxi. I haven't got time to do stupid podcasts like that.
Well, it sounds very much like you, lad. Sounds very much like you.
It's not me telling Cromitty. It's not me.
Cromitty, come over and sit in this comfortable, easy chair here.
Hello.
Would you like a cup of tea?
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Let me just sit next to you here. And how have you been keeping, Cromitty?
Fine. Yes.
Yeah. Do you think Yeti Uncle John is responsible for this?
I honestly don't, because he is so busy with Charlotte, and I really don't think she keeps him running around all the time. I just don't think he has the time for it. Yeti Uncle John does have like stupid ideas. Thank you. You do, but I don't think like this sort of thing is your idea of fun. You wouldn't want to hide behind a voice. You want to be known for what you're doing. Yeah, that's right. If I ever did anything, it would be me. I'd be saying it. I wouldn't be hiding. There's no point hiding.
Okay then, Cromitty, that leaves one other possible person, really, doesn't it? And who do you think that could be?
Well, not me. I wouldn't do it.
You're very defensive all of a sudden. I didn't say it was you.
Well, I
didn't say it was you at all.
Paul,
I was just about to ask you, who do you think it could be?
I don't think it's somebody from inside the group, because everybody is so busy. I think it's more like to be somebody like, I don't know, Wilson Comet, who went missing some time ago. Or, I don't know, the controller. Well, I mean, it does seem like it's more like to be an enemy of the show. Although, at the moment, some of the clips are very general discussions. But there are one or two clips I've listened to where they know stuff that they at least have to. I mean, I guess they could have put a bug, or somebody could have put a bug in some of our houses. You know, like Tallulah, for instance, she runs a music school. People are always coming and going. So, you know, somebody could have slipped a bug into her house, or even Bettina's house. But it's difficult to know for sure. I think it's going to take a while to find out who's behind this stupid podcast. There is another clip I'll play you at the end. But guys, we need to get on with the show. We were hoping to do 2 years, and I don't think we're going to have time. We'll just have to crack on with 1974. But if you hear anything, please let us know. Of course I will. It's disgusting. Yes, it is. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, well, you know, Warren is a good investigator, so he'll also be looking into it. But he knows people who know people, so we'll find out who is behind this show eventually, won't we, Warren?
Absolutely, and we will take the necessary action.
Yeah. So
to curtail their actions.
Anyway, I'm going to play a little bit of music, and whilst we do, can you two skedaddle, please? Oh, thank you very much. No, come on, we have to go. We have things to do. We do? Yes, of course we do. We always do. Oh, well then. See you later. See you later, Yeti Uncle John. See you later, Cromitty.
Bye-bye, Yeti Uncle John.
See you later, Paul and Warren.
Bye, Cromitty.
So we're back again, and we're on to July 1974, and, well, this kind of just, goes back to what we were saying. On the 14th of July, Bob Monkhouse returns to The Golden Shot. Was The Golden Shot also an American show? Was it one that I feel like it was one that...
It sounds very much... the format sounds very much like the sort of thing we nick from the States, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know for sure. That there were a lot of different shows where we... is it The Pyramid Game or Celebrity Squares? They definitely had that in America.
Yeah.
It does say it's a British game show, but then it might just mean...
It does.
It might just mean that, well...
I'm sure I've seen when you go on to YouTube, and I've put it in, I've got a mixture of British and American game shows.
Yeah, perhaps maybe it's one, it was imported over there after, so it might have been the other way around with some of the other ones. But now, in August 1974, for the first time on a preschool children's programme, the show Inigo Pipkin covers the death of the main character, Inigo, as the actor who played him, George Woodbridge, had died. The show is renamed Pipkins, and this predates the same thing happening to a character called Mr. Hooper on Sesame Street. It predates it by 9 years, so it was quite an exceptional thing for the times to sort of be dealing with the death of a character on a children's show.
Do I remember Indigo Pipkin dying? I do you know what, I don't, but I remember Indigo Pipkin because I always remember the Morris van, because every time I used to see a Morris van, I used to see if it was Pipkin's van.
A lot of people have sort of said to me that Pipkin's is a bit of a, that I should probably watch it because it's a bit Sutton Parky and it's sort of loose in certain aspects. Even though it ran into the early 80s, I don't really remember ever watching it. I've seen it some episodes since, and I know a lot of episodes are missing, but have been sort of retained by people involved with the show. And there's been a box set recently, and
yes, there's box sets just come out, hasn't it?
There was a monkey called Topov, and a pig with a Birmingham accent, and an ostrich.
Yeah, I always used to love the pig with the Birmingham accent.
But yeah, there were 10 series of 333 episodes between January the 1st, 73 and December the 29th, 1981. I think it's only really that first season that was known as Inigo Pipkins. Yes, Piggy is a famous character, but the most famous is probably Hartley Hare.
Hartley Hare, the arrogant hare.
Yes.
The posh voice and the... Yeah. They were very, very what I would call roughly made puppets. There was nothing sort of... they looked as though they were made of cheap foam, but they were meant to look like that. That's the way they came out. And that was, to a certain extent, their charm as well, I think, because it was very rough and ready. Oh, we like a bit of rough and ready now and again.
Well, I can't possibly comment. No, I don't.
If it's rough, it must be ready.
I think that's probably why people say it's a bit like Sutton Park, because I had quite cheap and cheerful characters in my show, which may have been puppets too. But don't ask Cromitty, he might take offence. But on the 24th of August, BBC One begins airing the American police series Kojak, starring Telly Savalas. Kojak had started the year before, so we're just a little bit late. Actually, they probably just finished their first season and were about to show their second by the time we got it. Sometimes that does sort of happen in other examples. I watched some early Kojak when I was doing an episode of Vision on Sound with Martin, and because I remember learning the fact that Kojak's known for sort of sucking a lollipop, and that wasn't even a thing in the early episodes. It took about 10 episodes or so before he started sucking lollipop.
It's all about giving up smoking, wasn't it? And not showing him smoking.
Yeah.
Because the first season he smoked and he gave up smoking, and they said, I think a character shouldn't smoke, and so what are you going to do? I'm going to replace him with a lollipop. And they thought it was ridiculous. They thought it would never work, and it would make it look ridiculous. But yet, here we are, and the rest is history.
Do you like Kojak? Have you watched much Kojak?
Do I like Kojak? Yes. I've got a couple of seasons of Kojak on my shelf.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. But they all sort of fall into that category after they've been on for a little bit of a while. They all seem like that, Starsky and Hutch, and those sort of things, all seem to fall into. It's as if they're swapping their scripts around sometimes.
Yeah, one of the ones I watched was quite hard hitting about certain characters being held hostage, maybe in a bank, and somebody got killed, but then I watched another one which was more about drug dealing, and it was more an action one, whereas the heist one was a bit more of a character based one, and I enjoyed that more than the sort of more actiony one. But that's just me, really. I'm not that interested in anything that's just too actiony. I like a bit of something to the script, some meat to the script. But
I like a bit of meat as well.
I heard. 31st of August, Star Trek The Animated Series debuts on BBC One.
I remember that very well. In fact, as you say it, I look across to my right and look in my section marked Star Trek. Yes, I own that. Sad I have sections on my shelves. And there it is. I'm very proud to have the animated series. That is the 4th series of Star Trek, as far as and I think it's become accepted now as the 4th series of Star Trek.
I think I actually have that, but I don't have. I may have one season or something of Star Trek, but I don't have them. But I bought I think I got the animated series as a Christmas present a couple of years ago, and then I think somebody mucked around with my pile of unwatched DVDs or Blu-rays, and I noticed the other day it was amongst ones that I was like, that shouldn't be there. I haven't seen. I never got around to watching that. I need to actually watch it, because, as I say, I acquired it, then it went missing, and then it's returned because a certain other person in the flat has been mucking around with my system. But,
they will remain nameless, and we won't name who they are, even though there's only one other person in the flat.
Well, yes, Uncle John and Comedy, but they're too busy doing their own things to watch DVDs. But in September, 2nd of September, ITV launches the sitcom Rising Damp, starring Leonard Rossiter and Richard Beckinsale. That's a show I like, although I've not seen it for a long time, but I remember enjoying it. It ran from 74 to 78, and it was one of those shows that sort of addresses race sort of issues that hasn't dated badly. Although Leonard Rossiter's character wasn't like a vicious racist, he was a casual racist.
He was stupid and arrogant, stupid and ignorant, I think, because he got most of his knowledge from what he heard from other people, and rather than actually experience or learning about it.
And he runs a boarding house, and it's him and the people who live in the house, and
Richard Beckinsale, and Don Warrington,
and Don Warrington is. Plays a character called Philip, who's a second-generation British African from Croydon.
Who's convinced him he's a chieftain's son, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he's quite highly educated, much more intelligent than Bigsby, and he winds Rigsby up.
I think Vienna the cat is far more intelligent than Rigsby.
Yeah. But that's.
That's Eric Chappell. Very good writer is Eric Chappell. He's very good.
It hasn't suffered the fate of some shows from that era because it was quite clear.
I think it was very intelligently written, actually, and it wasn't very much like Alf Garnett or anything like that at all. The humour could be gentle and subtle, and it was usually at Rigsby's expense.
Well, I think Alf Garnett and to a certain extent characters like Ali G suffered from the fact that the viewers didn't get that Alf Garnett was a parody and wasn't to be idolised. Yeah. The same with Ali G. It was only in the movie of Ali G that you kind of saw that he was supposed to be a figure of fun, not a cool character at all.
No.
Warren Mitchell got quite cross at times that people saw Afghan as a hero, or some people did. Whereas it's quite clear that Rigsby isn't a hero.
No.
But it's like, some of those shows...
Played wonderfully, though, by Leonard Rossiter.
Yeah.
Leonard Rossiter was a very, very good craftsman. And he would rehearse till he got things absolutely pinpoint. He was very much one of those craftsmen.
And Richard Beckinsale was very good. Both of them died far too young.
Yeah, I remember the death of Richard because we went on holiday for the first time abroad, and Richard Beckinsale died whilst we were away. And the second holiday we had as a family, we went away and a famous actor died. And the third time we went away abroad on holiday, another actor died. And I think after then we didn't have any holidays abroad for a while.
And Leonard Rossiter was 57 when he died, but Richard Beckinsale was only 31.
Yeah, his whole life ahead of him. Very sad. And he's best known for Porridge, of course, isn't he?
Yeah, and both of his daughters became actresses. Samantha and Kate Beckinsale. On the 5th of September, ITV shows the feature-length pilot episode of The $6 Million Man, starring Lee Majors as the half-man, half-cyborg.
Yay! Did you ever have a $6 Million Man to play with?
I think he was kind of on his way out by the time
I had one to play with. I remember having one to play with, and I like to play with it frugally. It's a thing of beauty.
I definitely had like action men with eagle eyes and things, but
eagle eyes.
But that was a little bit later.
$6 Million Man. It had panels that came off the arms, and you could see the wires and everything inside.
I might have seen one. I mean, some toys from shows hung around quite a while, because $6 Million Man ran from 73 to 78, but then there was some extra sort of TV movies. But I remember, was it called The Interceptor, the spaceship from UFO? I definitely had one of those.
Yeah, an Interceptor, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know whether it was even marketed as... I don't know whether they just had a job lot of them which didn't sell and they were still...
That's exactly what happened to them, yes.
Yeah.
And the same with the Shadow mobiles. They didn't sell, so they resprayed them and sold them as rocket launchers. But, of course, $6 Million Man's greatest foe, who appeared 4 times, was...
Was it the Yeti?
You should know.
The Yeti.
Yes. No, it's you. It's the Yeti.
Yeah.
And absolutely, the first time I saw it, terrified me as a child. I had nightmares at 4 years old because they wore these. And the only thing that frightened me was the fact that the actor, who was 6 foot whatever and blocked up so they were about 7 foot tall, and done out as a really lovely costume, really, really lovely costume. But it was the eyes that really did my head in, and they still do now, because he wore contacts, and they made his and made his eyes look really weird. And that's the thing as a child that triggered me to have nightmares. But I was obsessed because it was a 2-part story, and I was quite obsessed, and I can remember watching it avidly over the 2 weekends it was on.
Yeah, I think the only episodes I've seen were perhaps in the 90s when they sort of repeated some of them. I've never really got around to buying like a whole box set. I've seen probably more episodes, or certainly as many episodes of the Bionic Woman than I have the $6 Million Man. Just because a friend had a box set of Bionic Woman and we started watching it, but I'd kind of like to have seen a bit more, but...
I'll tell you what, next time I come and visit you, I'll bring my box set of the $6 Million Man over for you.
Thank you very much.
It's got, I think it's season 5. But yeah, I'll bring it over.
Is that the one where he doesn't have a moustache in one season? I've seen...
Oh, no, I definitely don't watch that. No, I do you know, strangely enough, I gave up watching it after that. I think that's towards the sort of the latter seasons, because Tashes were in.
Yeah, I remember seeing,
like, no,
I was sort of seeing a picture and thinking,
no.
that's not, that's That's not a picture I remember. It's not a look I remember him having. But on the same day as the $6 Million Man was shown, the pilot episode of Porridge was shown, which was another sitcom with Ronnie Barker set in a prison, and that also had Richard Beckinsale in. That's weird that he was in two shows. I presume he was in the pilot, Richard Beckinsale, but that's like him being on two shows starting within days of each other on different channels.
I'm wondering whether he was in the pilot,
Yeah,
because I thought it was just. Do you know what? I don't know. I'm having to look it up, and I can remember seeing the pilot repeated. I didn't see it the original time. Weren't they on their way or something? And the minibus breaks down or something like that.
I'm not sure how much. I know I own some of Porridge, but I don't know. I couldn't swear that I'd seen every single episode. But that ran from 74 to 77, and then there was a feature film in 79, and a series that was set after
Going Straight. That was it. I was never enamoured by Going Straight because a lot of it took place. Well, the first episode, a lot of it took place on a train, and I remember the CSO being absolutely awful. The train running through the countryside, and that was 78. That was broadcast, and I wasn't convinced. I wasn't convinced by the special effects, so I never really watched it again.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've ever seen it. That only lasted a season. The other thing, that on the 23rd of September, the BBC teletext service CFAX goes live. I didn't realise it was.
Wow.
I didn't realise it went back that far. Presumably, pretty basic. It says it goes live with 30 pages of information. But presumably you'd have had to have, I don't know, I guess they did kind of broadcast, when they didn't have anything going on, they did broadcast pages from CFAX, didn't they?
Yeah, BBC Two, when they had the test card, or when it was afternoon.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have had, later on you had TVs that, you had to, you press CFAX and then you could go in there, and it was sort of like the internet of the 80s. You had CFAX, and then you had teletext on BBC. Was it actually called teletext? The ITV one, but
yeah, it's called teletext, I think. Yeah.
Also, on the same day, BBC Schools started broadcasting programmes in colour. I didn't realise that things, they were still making black and white things, other than if there were strikes as late as that. I know in somewhere like Australia, I think it was black and white until about 74. I wonder if that's one of the reasons why mostly the soaps that we bought over from Australia, like the Sullivans and Young Doctors, were made just far enough into the 70s that they were made in colour, whereas some of the other shows were made in black and white, or maybe eventually crossed over to being in colour, but perhaps we wouldn't have bought those because we'd have been like, well, we don't really want to buy any more black and white stuff. It's a shame, because had the UK bought something like number 96, which was probably a bit too racy for the UK, to be fair, a lot of those episodes don't exist anymore. Whether if we had wanted to buy them, they would have survived, I'm not sure, or whether they were even trashed before we had a chance. October 1974, 13th of October, ITV begins airing the American science fiction series Planet of the Apes, based on the successful film franchise. Starring Roddy McDowall.
I do remember that, yeah. Sorry,
I know. I think Poppy's.
No, I've had it really boring. The TV series was not a patch on the films. It was quite interesting.
Well, there's another tenuous link between the Planet of the Apes and Sutton Park. Do you want to know it?
Oh, go on. Yeah,
not the original, but because they're still making movies of Planet of the Apes. And one of my friends, Patrick, who was in episodes of Sutton Park, and also briefly in one of the podcast episodes, he is now sort of working in the movies. I forget quite what sort of level, but he was involved with the most recent Planet of the Apes film, and I haven't seen it yet, but his name and I presume his wife's name, because they both work in the same industry, are probably somewhere in the titles. Years ago, about 10 years ago, more than that, I went to LA quite a lot, and he took me on a trip to one of the studios. I forget which studio it was now, but I think it was one of his earlier movies that he was involved in. It was one of the Smurf movies, and he was showing, I guess he was involved with digital effects, but I don't want to, I'm probably saying completely wrong, but he showed me footage from the Smurf movie before the animation was overlaid with it. It's another connection with Sutton Park, because the Smurf movie looked like an episode of Sutton Park, where they just had a toy Smurf moving around.
Oh, wow.
And then eventually layered things, over the top. Because I think the Smurf movies were slightly more a step on from just the basic animation. I think they were a little bit more 3D and a little bit more technologically advanced than the 70s version. But yeah, it did make me smile to think that, wow, this big Hollywood movie was basically, underneath all of the special effects, was no more advanced than an episode of Sutton Park. But, so, if only we'd had the budget.
Smurf-tastic.
Yeah. 16th of October, the Welsh language soap Poblygwm makes its debut on BBC Wales. That's probably not how you pronounce it. It's still going.
Wow.
Yeah, it's had 8,000 episodes or something. More episodes than Sutton Park. I don't know where it gets showed, but whether it just gets showed in Wales. But it says in 1994 it was briefly shown across the whole of the UK on BBC Two, but it only ran for about 3 months on an experimental basis, and I don't think anyone watched it. It's presumably popular enough in Wales, but yeah, it didn't last very long. On the 21st of October 1974, the BBC airs the first episode of the children's animated series Rhubarb, featuring Rhubarb the green dog and Custard the pink cat.
Wow.
That's another one. It's completely different style of animation. It's not stop motion like Bagpuss, but it's another one that has quite a sort of, I don't know, you don't hear much about Rhubarb now, but there was a time when it did have a bit of a cult following.
I think it still does. I think it's a wonderful piece of animation. It's simple, and it plays with the subject matter as well very well, because a lot of it is, the rough and ready animation is filled. The gaps are filled in by the child's imagination.
Yeah, there were 30 episodes. They were about 5 minutes long. Richard Briers did the voices, and although there was a 1974 series and a 2005 series which had 39 episodes, I don't know whether the later series looks the same. I don't see any sort of photos of how it looked in 2005. So. But Richard Briers apparently narrated both series. And Richard Briers died 4 days after Bob Godfrey. Well, as Bob Godfrey was the animator, I presume the style did remain the same pretty much with both series. But I'm only really aware of the original, because it was showing a lot of these series that were only a few episodes. Well, 30 is a pretty, it's an okay run length, but they were shown for years after 74. So, you can have kids who, maybe 10 years apart from each other growing up, who still remember Bagpuss, Rhubarb, the Flumps, a lot of those sorts of shows, because they didn't show them once and forget about them. You got them round and round for years. But in November 1974, nothing happened. Absolutely nothing.
Well, you know what? We need to start filling these months up with something to happen.
Yeah, there probably is something. On the 5th of December, the final episode of Monty Python's The final episode of Monty Python's Flying Circus is broadcast on BBC Two, and it was called Party Political Broadcast. I don't know if I've seen the latest seasons so much.
I don't think I've seen much. I've got it, but I've not really.
I think I've got it. I think I've got all of it, but I haven't watched all of it. On the 24th of December, so on Christmas Eve, ITV Anglia exclusively screened the 1966 Batman movie several years before other regions.
Wow.
So that was quite a few years, like 8 years after it had been at the cinema. But apparently Midlands didn't get it until 77, Granada and Tyne 77, HTV 78, no mention of our region. But on Boxing Day, BBC showed the network premiere of the 1960 western The Magnificent Seven, starring Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen and Charles Bronson. That was even longer, that's 14 years. I mean, plus they'd done an episode of The Avengers with similar sort of aspects. On the 28th of December, BBC 1 and 2 are rebranded with new logos and idents. And the first appearance of Tom Baker in Doctor Who Robot was also on the 28th of December. Was that changing when the new season started by having it sort of start? Or was there less of a gap between seasons than recent?
I can't remember. I honestly can't remember.
It feels quite quick that it's back only 4 or 5 months after. I mean, particularly Robot is almost feels like it is part of the previous season anyway, and a lot of the people behind the scenes had remained to do the crossover story. So, on the 31st of December, Roger Hargreaves' Mr. Men TV series was first broadcast on BBC One.
Was that John LeMessurier doing the voices?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was 26 episodes between 74 and 76, and Series 2 was 77 to 78. But then they made a Little Miss series, which was narrated by John Alderton and Pauline Collins. Don't really remember that. There was also Mr. Men and Little Miss 95 to 97. The Mr. Men Show 2008 to 2009. And they even have been talking about doing an untitled Mr. Men series in 2021, which as recently as just yesterday, at least at time of recording, it was announced that the series is now being produced by Watch Next Media. So still something that people think have got mileage to do more episodes of.
Yeah, don't see why.
But there were books as well, and which were very sort of common around the. I remember having Mr. Men books. They weren't like the Paddington or the Wombles books, which were actual proper 100 and something page books. They were very an emphasis on quite basic English and quite small size books with drawings by Roger Hargreaves. That's it. Oh, apparently. We said that, gosh, CFAX was quite ahead of its time, or much earlier than we thought. It was Oracle was the ITV one, although the teletext is the type of thing it was, I guess. But the dates for its launch are unclear at the time, and it became popular around 1980. Let me just quickly run through a few debuts that year that we haven't talked about. There was a version of Tom's Midnight Garden in 74. Heidi, I presume, but I don't know. I don't think there's an animated version from the late 70s. I wonder if this is the live action one or not. But I remember the live action one and not really enjoying it. But it was sort of, I'm sure it was being shown. Unless this is another version of Heidi yet again. Carrie's War, 1974. Barnaby Jones. I've seen some Barnaby Jones.
Barnaby Jones, yeah.
That's another detective series. I did an episode or two of that for the same episode of Visual on Sound. Happy Ever After. Now that's what led into Terry and June, but I mean it had its own.
Yep.
Had its own sort of run of 4 or 5 years. What else was there? A version of David Copperfield, and Simon in the Land of Chalk Drawings. That's an animated show. Never heard of that. The Palaces. That was a historical. It was an adaptation of a series of Anthony Trollope books. And Rhoda. That would have been
Rhoda. No, that's an American.
Yes, I've seen some Rhoda.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, that was a spin-off of Mary Tyler Moore Show. I've seen some Rhoda. It's good fun. I quite like those shows, and the episodes I've seen of Mary Tyler Moore Show and Maud have all been pretty good fun. Within These Walls starts 74 to 78. That's very much. I do own all those seasons, and yet I haven't watched all of them. That's very much the forerunner to Prisoner Cell Block H. I really ought to get round to watching all those properly. There's a lot of famous people in there, or people who became famous. Armchair Thriller. Sorry, no, not Armchair Thriller. Armchair Cinema. That's an anthology series. It's a spin-off from Armchair Theatre. Of course, then there's Armchair Thriller later on. The Squirrels, that's a sitcom. Eric Chappell, who also wrote Rising Damp, 3 seasons. I think I might have that at home. Don't Drink the Water, that's a sitcom.
Oh no, yes. That's
is it a spin-off of On the Buses?
On the Buses, yeah, that will be just as funny.
The Russell Harty Show. Russell Harty was the person who died young, or youngish, and his show lasted into the 80s. Did it stop because he died? I think it. I can't remember now. I think it probably did. Did it stop because he died? Did he die as early as 83?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it did.
And then I guess sort of Wogan took over with a sort of chat show format. Similar, at least in my head. I mean, there was Parkinson, but he was already around. Oh, there's the 74 version of Father Brown, which I think I own because I think it was an extra on one of the discs I had of the more recent Father Brown. No.
That would be Arthur Lowe, wouldn't it? Father Brown?
Kenneth Moore.
No, that's Kenneth Moore, because it's. I'm thinking of Blessed Be Father.
No, honestly, that was a sitcom with John Alderton and Pauline Collins.
No, I remember that.
Yeah.
But the problem being is I always confuse that with My Wife Next Door for some bizarre reason, and I don't know why.
What's this? I'm looking at some continuing television shows. Well, that's talk about them. If they're continuing, that's loads of shows. Well, I think that's it. As I was saying, I think 1 year is always going to fit into a show, but. Before we go, I think I ought to play you one or two more clips from this podcast.
Yeah, sure.
I'm afraid this one hits a little bit close to the knuckle because they're talking about people we know. So, I mean, all the people we know, but I mean, you know, I think you and I are mentioned as well. So, let's have a listen.
What I don't understand is the Shy Yeti geezer guy. You know, is he actually? He claims he's a Yeti, but I've seen pictures of him. He doesn't look much like a Yeti.
Oh, he looks very human to me. I mean, he looks as though he's from Wrexham.
Yeah. And, you know, it's like they're trying to make things... They can't just be normal people. They can't just be like...
Oh, there's nothing normal about them. They're a very strange lot, if you ask me.
Why do they insist on, you know, aliens this and vampires that and ghosts this? We all know none of those things exist. You know, I mean, where does he come from? There he is, and he like uses that show to peddle his poetry.
Peddle his poetry? He's a poet.
Well, that's what he calls it. But you know, and he does that. He does rhyme. I mean, you know, that's so 1970s. Nobody does rhyming poetry these days. I mean, and then there's that Goodman guy making his films and writing his stuff.
Oh, I think they sounded almost verging on pornographic, you know. Well, that's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard. And then there's those other ones, Toby and Lisa, or whatever.
Toby and his sexually large stick-on beard, I heard.
Oh yeah, I heard that. I heard that his beard was fake.
But I hear Lisa does a very good cook breakfast, you know.
Oh, well, I mean, I guess...
She works down the calf, does a really good cook breakfast.
Well, I mean, they're always talking about old TV. I mean...
Oh, it's never anything new, is there?
Who listens to that? Who wants to listen to old TV? Or why would you want to listen to something that's that's visual? I don't understand. And then there's that Warren guy. They call him Uncle Warren. Why do they call him Uncle Warren? He's not their uncle. I mean, there's Yeti Uncle John. He's not.
I think it sounds a bit creepy to me.
Oh.
He sounds creepy to me. I don't like the sounds of that. No, I'm not going to go down those lines. It's just so crude, isn't it?
I seem to have I've lost my Welsh accent, but you know, that's just because I feel that I have to disguise my accent because I know the only way you can speak honestly in these days is if you hide behind a filter.
Yes.
So don't feel you have to do Welsh anymore. If you want to change your accent, it's fine. But yeah, I mean.
But I am Welsh. What you're saying? I am Welsh.
I'm sorry, I didn't realise. I don't know what I am. But they're just a bunch of fakes, all of them on that show. You know, they say they're one thing, but they're another. They all got trying to promote each other's shows.
No,
it
makes you sick. Absolutely makes you sick, doesn't it?
I won't rest until that show is off the air. I'm sick of it. Sick of it, I tell you, sick of it.
Oh dear, Warren. Who are these people?
Oh, it's never ending, is it?
Why are they saying these things?
It's never ending.
It's upsetting. We put so much hard work into our podcast. You and I and Toby and Lisa and you know, and and all people can say is bad things, and
it's not good.
They can't even be honest about who they are. I mean, listeners, what we tell you is true. We're battling with vampires and demons and ghosts, and you know, some of them are our friends, but some of them aren't. And you know, Warren he's been here when we've had to deal with all sorts of problems, and it's no easy thing, is it?
It's not at all, and people take it for granted, I think. I think that's the problem.
I mean, episodes don't just appear, without hours of editing. It's just very disheartening. But anyway, well, Warren, thank you very much for...
it's always been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to slip in and see you.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we'll talk about another year. I have an idea for a year for us to do next time. But I'm thinking maybe the late 60s, but I won't say anything more than that. But anyway.
Are we talking Troby's age there?
Well, even older. But,
oh, gosh, even older than that.
Anyway, thank you, listeners, for listening. Join us again soon. If you get any clues as to who these fake podcasters are, please let us know, because they may say they won't rest until they get rid of us, but we won't rest until we get rid of them, because they're the ones who are being, negative and trying to spoil our fun. But anyway, there will be a couple of other bits coming up, and we do have one more clip from this stupid podcast, but we're no closer to working out who it is. I keep trying to, I wondered if maybe we could change the pitch on it to try and find out the real voices, but it's very difficult when something's been altered. It's difficult to turn it back without it kind of starting to become unclear, and it's you can't just remove the filter if you don't have the actual original recording. But never mind. But have you got more episodes of the Cinematic Sausage coming out in the next few months?
We have. Brace yourself, Paul, because you won't believe this.
Oh.
I'm actually writing a schedule. I know, I'm going to be out every month now.
Oh, my goodness.
Every month. I'm booked up now till probably about March, April.
Make sure you put me down, because I often...
Oh, definitely put you down. I've got the injection here.
I often see films where I think, oh, that's a good one for sausage, but anyway.
Well, there's always room to shoehorn you in for another sausage.
All right, listeners.
Always more than welcome.
Thank you, and I hope you'll be back here soon as well. All right, bye for now, and we'll be back in just a second.
Bye-bye.
Could talk about that are involved with this stupid show, but some of them come from other countries. Like there's that Yeti'S guy from Poland.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I don't understand.
So many of them.
I don't understand it, because that Yeti'S guy, he had this really massive YouTube following, and he let it go to be on the show, to be on that Shy Life podcast show.
Oh, no.
I mean,
well, why would you want to do that?
Why would he do that? I mean...
That's wrong.
I mean, it's definitely a step down being on a podcast when you're already like a YouTube star. I mean, it's not like they offer to pay anybody anything. I don't know. Maybe hypnosis or something. Maybe the allure of pretend aliens. Who else? Oh, that smelly guy. From the
Toppy.
Yeah. What's he doing on that show? He's really struggling.
I don't know. He's top billing, isn't he?
Yeah, he's like
top billing around the world, and
he's like top tier podcaster, and he's like, why is he wasting his time on that? Also, I mean, I would say that Shy Life podcast nicked half his ideas, and pretending to be like a UK version of his show. I'm surprised Toppy hasn't sued him. It's like, why is he such a? Why so nice? Why so nice?
I know. I
there's
think
probably more to it.
being too nice to them.
Probably
too nice to them.
Probably more to it than we realise, but I know that. And there's that Holmes guy.
He's putting a lot of vision into something, isn't he?
Yeah, he's so grumpy. He's so grumpy. I wish I could only assume it's because working with that Yeti guy is like the most depressing thing ever.
Oh, I know.
Has he got something? Do you think he's got something? Maybe the Yeti guy's got something over him, and he's kind of saying to the Holmes guy, "You got to be on my show."
A lot over a lot of people.
He must have. Why would people work with him unless he got some sort of hold over them? I wonder what it is. But listeners of this show, we'll expose the true goings on the Shy Life podcast on our show, listening to the Shy Life podcast. We're going to expose them. We're going to blow it open next year or whatever year it is now. Yeah. Because there's a lot going on here you don't know about and we don't know about, and we're going to find out about it.
I think we should do, because it's only it's a moral duty to do that,
Are you really Welsh?
Well, I live on the borders.
Oh, that's okay. It's fine. But
what are you saying? You don't like the Welsh now?
No, it's just that I'm terribly posh, you see, and I thought that you were just a posh show pretending to be a Welsh guy. Not that you can't be posh and Welsh.
Now you're just kicking me in the bollocks.
Oh, sorry about that. I thought you liked it.
I gotta go now. Bye. Gotta go. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Wow. Real? No kidding.
Thank you, darling. And you too. Bye.
This show is part of the Pride 48 network. Find more shows over at pride48.com.
Oh dear. What's going on now? Oh, it's the Shy Life podcast.
Let's go.
I have a voice.
I have a voice.
You have a voice.
You have a voice.
We have a voice.
We have a voice.
Unique voices in podcasting.
UnivazPods.net.
That is so cringe, oh my god.
You're a man of culture as well.
Oh, goodness, Warren. Those two, I mean...
I don't know how they managed to get away with it. I really don't.
It's just one thing after another. I'd read to know, what they're going to say next. What, are you two still listening to that stupid show?
Oh, yes. Sorry, Yeti, Uncle John, but we have to find out who these people are.
You don't have to get upset about it. I'm sure we can find out who it is and we'll put a stop to them, but... you mustn't let it worry you, Paul. Tell him, Warren, tell him.
Well, it's beginning to worry me as well. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
He's targeting people we know. Although I noticed certain people, they weren't insulting. They were sort of insulting, but they were like saying, why are they associating with me, like Toppy and Mateus and even Martin Holmes. Yeah, I don't know. No clues as to who it could be.
We've got no leads at the moment. This is the problem, isn't it? There's no leads at all.
You there, Comity? I'm here, Paul. Yeah, is there no way that... I was saying it's difficult to take the filter off something once it's been changed, and once it's out there. This isn't a live show. It's obviously a pre-recorded show. But I know from my experience that, if you try and something's been altered and you try and turn it back, it doesn't sound like it used to. Well, yes, I know what you're saying. Can't Cuthbert do a better job than you could do? No offence. No offence taken. It's just, as you say, it takes maybe some sort of technology that's a little bit more complicated than I have access to. Well, we can try, but we don't have access to the original files, so they may even have, put some sort of protection device that prevents it being altered. We're going to find it out. This is, look, I promise you, I won't let it sort of take over my thoughts too much, but, Warren and I will perhaps investigate behind the scenes, and we'll let you know what we found next time Warren and I do a show together.
Definitely. Definitely. There's a lot of investigation. I'm sure that we're going to ping in some very interesting leads.
Yeah, I think it's something we need to do, sort of low-key, not make a big fuss that we're investigating. In fact, talking about it like this is, giving the game away. So let's say goodbye, and thank you, Warren, again, and thank you, Yeti and John.
Goodbye.
Well, yes.
Bye-bye now.
I hope you can sort it out, Paul. I'm sure we will, but let's not talk about it anymore. We don't want to give them any more air, show them that we're concerned. I think that's a good idea, Paul, yes. Okay, I'm going to put the kettle on. Oh, yes, please. We'll have
sounds
one.
Nice. Yes, please. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
2 lumps and a slice of milk, please.
Yes. I'll get some biscuits.
Oh, yes.
This is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Well, gotta tell you, I didn't expect that.
What the hell just happened on this show? I mean, seriously, reverse it, because I lost. What's going on? What happened?
Man, was that worth it or not? Oh my goodness, that was a darling little shoe. Whoa, I love that one. Great show, Paul. Yep, that was a good shoe.
748. 748.
That is beautifully done.
Oi, oi, that's your lot.
Oh, everyone's a critic.
You can always call me.
Right, Warren, you take care.
And you too, my friend, and take care, dear listeners.
Et voilà.